was in prison from the age of 23 to 40, like 8 months. I would say it was, a near-death experience for me, literally and figuratively. I don't really know how to explain it except to say that, I made some very poor choices, and my first prison that I went to was federal offenses. I went to Leavenworth, which at the time was the most violent prison in the United States. I was 23. The first person actually that they put me in a cell with was a serial prison raper type of individual. And that kind of set the tone for my entire incarceration, because, I had kind of made my mind up that I wouldn't allow myself to be, disrespected or my things taken or, violated, sexually or anything of that nature. So, in prison parlance, I, did what I had to do or whatever. And, from that point on, I fought a lot. And, in the meantime, I would go to school. I've always been, very articulate, and I love school and whatnot. But in that environment, I just felt like, when in Rome, do as the Romans, and I felt as though I was actually in hell, for the most part. And, I kind of lost myself in there. Thankfully for me and my family, I met a few older men that were kind of situated as far as emotionally. That was always my problem. I was very, into learning and doing positive things, but at the same time, I would be hanging around those that would kind of steer me the other way. And, so anyway, I meet these elders, and they were of various ethnicities and backgrounds, and religious backgrounds, etc. And, they kind of pointed me at really who I was. I grew up a lot differently. I was raised right, I just went wrong. And helped me to find out really what I wanted to do with my life. And from that point, I kind of, I've been straightforward, just trying to help other people. And if I can help someone else not repeat my mistakes, I'm happy with that. You're being told that violence is unacceptable in society, but it's acceptable in prison. When they took me to the segregation unit after, I get into it with the guy who would have been basically trying to sodomize me in the evening, they're like, oh, well, yeah, we were waiting to see how long it would take. Wow, so you knowingly put me in a cell, and you want to see how long it would take, whether, this man would abuse me or I would be forced to defend myself and do something physically to him. And this was acceptable. I didn't even, matter of fact, they let me go, I think 3 days later, out of segregation, back to the population. I didn't even receive a punishment. So that kind of, there's a lesson in that. It's like it was okay to be violent in that, environment or whatever. And, as I told my mother, I was ashamed that, I kind of got into that, because it became a thing to where now I excuse that behavior by saying, okay, well, I stood up for those that were bullied. The guys that would be prison rapers, I took pride in defending the guys that they would try to do that to. And I kind of justified it by saying, well, someone has to stand up for them, etc. But it was still unacceptable. But at the time, I saw it as being, par for the course. This is prison. And, but basically my entire incarceration was one successive maximum security federal prison after another. And I finally ended up in Colorado. Well, they put, be it the next stage of Guantanamo prisoners, all the way up until your prison gang leaders to guys that are assaultive or whatever. And it was there that I finally kind of looked at myself in the mirror. And I didn't really like what I saw. It was like, wow, who are you? Like I say, I don't consider myself to have been a bad person. When you talk to those that would have been victimized, they'll tell you, I was a good man, and man, he stood up for us. But as far as attitude, desire to excel, I kind of lost that. I lost my focus. And, but when I got there, I met a few people, and they basically helped me to find myself. And pretty much ever since, I've been, that was like 99, I want to say, 99, 2000. And I still ended up doing an additional 8 years. I'm not going to say I don't have regrets. Naturally, I do. My youngest son's 18. You know, my daughter's 20. My eldest son is 22, so do the math on that. But I think I'm a better person for that experience. And I think that I could actually demonstrate to them by my own example, rather than just have been a person that might have told them one thing but actually doing another. You know, so in a way, I guess I'm thankful to God to have went through that trial by fire, so to speak, because I found not only, you know, my sense of faith, but also a sense of myself. You know, I've seen that I have strength within myself that I didn't know I had. So that, you know, in a nutshell, is what made me a man today. You know, I'm late bloomer, but, you know, I'm fully on point with what I'm trying to do in my life. It's just a matter of getting the right opportunity. What I would see for some type of like model prison, you're speaking of a maximum, which is all I pretty much knew was a maximum and a super maximum, basically. But in that environment, I think you would be wise to kind of have a connection between a person that is incarcerated and his own community, because most of the guys that go in there are kind of like detached. They'll like wrap it in these little videos or whatever, as far as, you know, to go along with the oh, that's my hood or whatever, but they don't really feel a real sense of belonging. And I think there is like your real problem, because they have no sense of a community. So when they come in there, they just act out on, you know, whatever their thought process is at that particular moment. But I think having a connection to the community, definitely segregating your predatory prisoners, because most of the guys that come in these days, from what I saw, are younger. In the federal system, you know, you're dealing with guys that they might have only had, you know, small amounts of crack cocaine or whatever the case is, and they're given extremely long sentences due to the mandatory minimum. So they're already coming in feeling hopeless. You have to be able to instill some sense of hope. You know, I had basically what I call mentors inside that were guys that had 2 and 3 life sentences, never getting out, but they had hope. And their hope was that they could live vicariously through people that they kind of helped to find their way back to the path. And that's kind of, you know, what I took on as like a life's mission. And for guys in there, if they respect you, they'll listen to you. But it's sad that, you know, guys won't listen to a reverend or an imam or whatever their particular belief system is. They'll listen to the street thug, the reformed criminal. And, you know, I feel like from a personal perspective, the only way that you're going to advance as far as to try to help people is to utilize these people. That's how they kind of atone for the things that they may have done. You know, you could have a person that desires to do well, but then he's in a cell with a guy that's got 300 years and never getting out, or say like myself, I had children, I have grandchildren, and it was very, you know, I can't even put into words how I felt when I was around a person that had harmed women and children. That was just, you know, so far, and it's difficult to even, you know, put into words how it's handled in there. So to create a, I don't know, for people to get out is one thing. I think you would have to separate those that had extended periods versus those that didn't have a lot of time, and they need job skills. I mean, you know, in Oregon, in the state prisons, from, you know, what I've discovered, I mean, my oldest son is in prison for another 4 months. And that in and of itself kind of shows you why I feel the way I feel, why I'm passionate about what I want to do, because that's a result of my own failures. But I think you would have to separate people that have short time versus those that have extended periods, because they're a negative influence for the most part. You know, you kind of bring people to a level where they don't care about getting out anymore. And I've seen guys with 2 and 3 years get life sentences from just getting caught up in, you know, the politics of prison. And it's just, you know, everything is racially orientated and motivated. I lost 2 grandparents, 2 uncles, 2 aunts, a number of cousins. Really the first 3 years of my incarceration. And then I was looking out the window, and in Colorado they have these little windows that you look out of because you're in the cell 21 hours a day at that time. And I'll never forget it. I just spoke to this guy, and he struck me as being a decent person, was getting ready to get out, and you know, he was a white guy, and he wouldn't go along with the racial politics because in the federal maximum, everything is racially motivated. And you have these, you know, white supremacists, the brown supremacists, you got the black supremacists. Everybody's, you know, vying for the little control of, you know, the fertile minds to pollute, basically. And, you know, he used to play basketball with us and talk, and we would have these real in-depth conversations. And the white supremacist group at that time basically told him, hey, you quit talking to the blacks and the browns, etc. And he refused. So, you know, I'm looking out my window, and I had just been talking to him, you know. And these guys basically stabbed him and tried to kill him. And I'm looking out of the window, and I'm just like, I'm so enraged because I saw basically an injustice. You know, there were like 3 of these guys, and they're just, to me, they were just kind of asserting their little pseudo power over a guy that, you know, was getting ready to go home, and they crippled him, right? And it was kind of at that point where I felt like I want to make a change, A, and B, the next time I have an opportunity to help someone, regardless of their race or whatever, I'm gonna help them. If it means that I have to sacrifice my life, so be it. Because, you know, it was wrong for other men to stand out there and watch that when that guy didn't deserve that. He hadn't done anything. And, you know, like I say, all those situations kind of hit me over the head, and I think I actually cried for the first time in maybe 10 years. I'm a federal parolee. I came here with nothing, basically. The federal system has no support network or anything like that. The people that I've met have been through friends of a friend. Through a friend, I can't, hey, volunteer. You know, is there anything I can do to help your program? I have a lot of knowledge of, you know, the streets, as well as, you know, I'm pretty well read, and I believe I have a passion for this. If someone will help me to access the network. And from there, it was kind of, you know, everything I've been getting slowly but surely on my own, registering for school, etc. But most of the programs that I've run across so far have been, you know, and like I said, I can only speak from a federal standpoint, but working with Chris, I kind of get a bird's eye view into state, you know, and local. They're trying, but I think what you really need is to have mentors kind of meeting them at the gate, because that first, I would say, week or so is crucial, because you're going to run across your old friends. Most of them, they're not going to have transportation, which is frustrating. Job opportunities, which is, you know, you're in a recession in Oregon. I believe it's the 2nd worst in the country. And there's availability in the underground economy for men that, or women that can't stand, you know, firm in their positions and try to go straight or whatever. I would say a mentor that has lived that life, that is working through a county or a local, maybe faith-based, but it can be like non-denominational, to keep people, you know, because you have some people that might be one particular faith, they feel like the knowledge coming from this person isn't the same knowledge, or, you know how that goes. But I know for myself, I just needed somebody to talk to. I've been talking to alpha males for, you know, 17 years. You know, it's nice to just be able to, like, when I volunteer here, I talk to women and just ask them their opinions on things, and, you know, just the little things that help me. You know, do you know anyone? Helping them to learn how to network. So again, I think the strongest thing that you could offer someone is a mentor that really believes in helping someone, not someone that just wants a paycheck, but actually wants to see this person succeed. For those that have any type of spiritual base, you know, we all are given many chances by, you know, our Creator, but then we become, you know, so-called gods on earth, and now we're on pedestals and we place ourselves as judge, jury, and executioner. But if it happens to your son, you want someone to give him a second chance, or your daughter, or, you know, how many times have you driven drunk, or, you know, or did something you might not have, should have did, but you just didn't get caught. Now, I'm not speaking of a serial raper or a serial murderer, or, you know, my own beliefs on that. As a person that, you know, was a criminal, I didn't, you know, take too kindly to being around perverts and, you know, people that would take killing as a hobby or something along those lines, but people that, you know, did things to protect their families or whatever. I believe it depends on the case. I won't just say that everyone deserves this or everyone deserves that. I think you would kind of get a gut feeling, and it should be, to me, the victims should decide the penalty. You know, if they say that person should be given a second chance, then who are we to say they shouldn't be? That's who I would consult, the victims of the people's crimes. And that would include myself. I actually wrote, you know, like I say, most of the things that I was doing in the streets were against other criminals in the criminal world. But I actually wrote quite a few of, you know, them and family members, because they might have been incarcerated or no longer here or whatever. And, you know, just basically asked for forgiveness. I mean, you know, we were all under the influence of drugs and just doing things that were totally out of character. Could have easily been me getting hurt, and many have attempted to hurt me over the years, but I've always felt like, you know, God has been with me, because I'm still here. I'm relatively healthy and still got my teeth, lost my hair, you know. For my kids to have had a father instead of a pen pal, that would be my wish. If I could do anything different, it would have been to be a father.
And now what's your wish for the future?
To be given an opportunity to help people, or at the very minimum, give some type of input to people that are helping people. Because basically your last question kind of hit it on the head. People are very prejudiced, and, you know, even though I have a plethora of contacts and network and people that will speak highly of me, you still would have people that would believe that, okay, I have to be out of prison 10 years to help someone. Okay, well, in not helping them, I'm not helping myself either, because that's really where I find who I am, is in helping other people. You know, that's like here. You can't buy that. A wage doesn't get it. I still came up here and devoted 6 to 8 hours a day trying to help people. So that would be what I would want, is an opportunity to work with someone that's helping the people.